pay attention to this one company. In the U.S., focus is focus on one segment of the industry, or make one single product. So it's a different focus. But that would be my advice.
That's great. So we're ready for questions now. I think we have. Hopefully we have the microphones going around, and hopefully we've stimulated enough or put you to sleep. I don't know which. It looks like everybody's awake. Any interesting questions there? I'll let the people in the audience distribute the microphones. Go ahead.
Okay. Harry Blom from Lehman Brothers. One of the things I didn't hear anybody comment on the panel was government sponsorship or involvement in enhancing or detracting from the success of these companies.
So, as far as government, we haven't. It's a long topic, and it's also interesting given that India is just talking about some tax regulations with respect to ESOPs and things like that, and in China there's always a varying degree of taxation issues and even ownership issues and how stock is handled and things like that. I personally think it's a factor. It's something you have to live with and be comfortable with, even to be able to operate in the country. I think that the comfort level that we got to at Mayfield was the fact that the general direction about opening up markets, protection of IPR, and encouragement of capital coming into the country is in general the trend that everybody gets there. Now, it may be circuitous about how they get there. The logic sometimes doesn't make sense at face value to us. You have to dig down below the logic. And I think it's important for the people on the ground there to stay in touch with the policymakers and try and understand and discern those. That's part of the process, I think, about what's happening. I heard recently, too, that in China, they're now allowing door-to-door selling potentially, where before you couldn't have sort of a multi-level marketing, where you couldn't have people going around and knocking on doors. Those are interesting changes. The whole capital markets issues in Shanghai, and coming from Lehman Brothers, you probably know this as well. The Shanghai Stock Exchange has a long way to go with respect to the rules and regulations and things like that. And David,
China's government-sponsored project always, if you can latch onto it, if that's your question, you can make tons of money. Many of the successful companies, whether that's Legend or Lenovo or other companies,
Asia
inside
Info,
Asia Info is all, and the Chinese government is kind of weird in the sense that they are a bunch of engineers really running the whole country, so they think everything is a problem and then solve the problem and solving the problem. Right.
This is a keen insight. I mean, Deng Xiaoping and the staff that have starting from him are engineers. That is a major change and influence.
It's sometimes scary. You see these governments, sort of what they're going to do next year. It's like, am I reading a sort of a CEO sort of plan for 2007? There's a specific goal and how to measure and then how to come back and validate that. It's done.
It's Kennedy's administration. The guys.
So you can make a lot of money if you're tied in with those kind of projects.
Next question.
Okay.
How do you do that?
This question is probably for Pramod and Alok. It's about location for VCs and for entrepreneurs. So it was interesting, Pramod, to see you were actually trying to get the money from the right VCs. So question is, if you have your locations being posted in India, why are you doing that? Is that because of being closer to the entrepreneurs? Or is there some structural tax other advantages or disadvantages in doing that? And for Pramod, I understand being in that ecosystem and experiencing how you start a company there is important. And for a attorney, if you're dealing with global markets, does that matter? I mean, how does it matter?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
I didn't either. The first question is, so you got your a lot of VC companies are opening up in India. You are going to India as well, as you said, Pramod.
Yeah.
So why are you doing that? And is there issues that you're going to face, either on the positive side or the negative side? And on the entrepreneurial side, why would you, for an attorney, is it that important to understand the local market if I'm going to go serve the global market? By just basically trying to exploit
so let me address that. We've been doing deals from here thus far. We have 5 direct deals. I'm on 4 boards in India, right? That's a lot of boards. I don't have a capacity now to do any more boards or any more. So we're opening an office there. We're actually in active discussions with individuals, hiring people. Our goal is to have 2 or 3 people based in India. We see a tremendous opportunity to invest in mid to late stage companies and perhaps some startups as well, right? So that's the reason for having people there. It's also, I mean, as I went through this thing about, you need to be selective, you need to be very careful which projects you back or which companies you back. You have to have local presence, both from a deal flow perspective and then also having the diligence and the ability to spend time and mentor these folks. First of all, screen them and then mentor them carefully. So that's the reason for, we see an opportunity to invest a lot more money than we have already. And so hence the need to have people there. And I think the whole concept of returning was, it's part of that selection process of which projects to back, right? Now, certain projects, as I mentioned before, if you're going after projects that are or products or services that are just aimed at the local market, then the role of the returnee is a little less important. You got to make sure you supplement them then with people that really understand the local market. And we've done that. We funded a company called Yatra. Some of you might have heard of that. It's a travel portal. We actually pulled a team out of e-bookers in the UK. So we pulled 2 people out of UK, and we immediately said, we need to bring people into this company that understand the local market, right? And so we immediately had to hire some GMs that understood, that had worked in the local market, understood the travel industry, understood the hotel industry, understood the airlines and so on. So it's a complement of skill sets. No, well, it depends. If it's going after the local market, you better be there. So this company is headquartered in New Delhi. I mean, it has no employees anywhere outside India. I mean, it's using some outsourcing services here and there. And we've got several other companies that, are just headquartered there because they are predominantly serving the local market, or their critical mass is right there. Now, they might have a front office here in that they're going after marketing and so on. Some of these are services companies.
Let's go on to the next question.
I'd like to hear your attitudes about some of the proprietary protections. The governments and the corporations are giving lip service in respect to intellectual property, but when you have high turnover employees, are you really more inclined to fund commodity-type development as opposed to proprietary-type development? And what kind of confidence or nightmares are you going to have based on the employees running off with and having nothing left?
Let's let our entrepreneurs answer that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I think that's actually a very interesting question. We get asked, I mean, we do a lot of intellectual property work for US companies, very large to all the way to 110 startups right here in Silicon Valley. How secure is IP in India? It works in slightly different ways. Out here, if somebody reveals confidential information, the first thing you do is take the person to court. In India, if it's your employee or somebody else's employee, you actually, if the person reveals confidential information, you go to their boss and tell their boss that he did it. And the whole society knows it's such a strong, integrated that way, that particular person is gone to hell from that point on. So it's a very, very different dynamic that works in India because within, as Mark, the co-founder, would say, as a physicist, you're always learned about 6 degrees of freedom. You Indians have only 2. And that, I think, in some sense is true. I mean, you will find, even though that is a competitor of yours where the person went, you would find somebody who knows somebody there and say, look, this is the guy did to me. He'll do the same to you. It may be worse. So I think it works actually fairly well in India, at least right now.
So it's culturally built in.
Yeah. We have a company that does product development services, not IT enabled product development services. They're doing work for Microsoft, IBM, Cisco, Oracle. Never had an issue. Been doing it for 10 years. There's never been any IP complaint. There's never been issues of people